Hello, my name is Chindy.
And I'm Liz.
All right, everybody, sorry it's been a while. And today we're going to talk about would you forgive someone if they cheated? This is the general theme of our topic. And I'm just going to dive straight into it. Liz, I'm going to ask you this question. Have you ever forgiven someone you went out with, you who cheated on you? Have you ever forgiven them in the past? Like they cheated on you and then you forgive them, you went back to them. I'm not talking about forgiving them like, it's okay. I've moved on with my life. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you forgive them and you go back to having dating them again.
Right. Well, that's the double loaded question because forgiving someone, depending on where you are in your life, it may mean a different thing. So sometimes it's a hard dead no. If you've done this, you betrayed my trust. It is what it is. And it's not even friendship. It's like it's over. And then there are other situations where, let's call it a situationship, where it's like, okay, but still, it's about trust. So if that person is not, if you don't have the ability to communicate with that person and kind of understand and set the perimeters of your relationship, then that could be an issue. But I just think that when you start to love yourself, tend to not put up with as much negative behavior. I think you start to set boundaries and you're really good at setting your boundaries. You know exactly what you want. You're able to articulate what you want and then have that person that you choose to allow in your life to operate within those parameters.
So have you ever forgiven someone in the past? Like in your past relationships that you've had? Have you ever maybe you're in your 20s or even a teenager, who knows? And someone cheated on you. You found out they cheated on you. You maybe broke up, you're going into a big argument or whatever happened, and then you forgave them later on. Have you ever done that?
Well, in my 20s, I didn't do it. I was like, no way. You cheated. That's it. Hit the road. This is over. It's a done deal. 30s, pretty much. But then when there are other perimeters or other situations, again, that happen, when you have children with them, and it's not as easy when you break up a family unit. So you may tend to forgive a little bit if there's counseling involved, if there's growth involved. I think that sometimes men tend to, and I'm not saying all men, just some men tend to mature at a slower rate than maybe females. So, I mean, I don't know if that's stereotypical, but depending on where people are in their lives. So, sometimes you got to give the brother time to grow, and because I think it becomes a point when you stop chasing tail. I don't know if that's I don't even know if it's appropriate to say, but yeah, I think that like some of my male friends, when they married, when they were younger, they were definitely chasing tail. But as they were more mature and they realized that partnership was more important to them, then they didn't step outside of the marriage or living arrangement. But yeah, depends on where people are. But now that I'm closer to the end than I am to the beginning, I have a totally different standard in terms of relationships.
I think. I would say for me, I can speak for myself, is that I've never had to I've never really felt a need to forgive someone. It doesn't mean that they didn't cheat on me. And like I've had a situation where some of my girlfriends have cheated on me.
But did it hurt? But did it hurt when somebody cheats on you? I mean, that's like
no. This is the weird thing about me. It didn't hurt as much. I was just like, oh, okay. What do you want to do? Does it mean it's over? That was my attitude, which was weird. Like it was just like. It was sort of like I didn't care either way. I wasn't as upset. I wasn't angry. Like men don't want to fight the dude.
Right.
I wasn't that. I was just like, okay, it happened. Now, what's the nature of our relationship? And that's the only situation that I look at. And it's weird. I was very weird about it. I'm still that way. I don't understand when people get all so angry and upset because I just don't get that upset. It's one of those things that I don't understand. I see videos a lot of people getting all angry, burning clothes.
Those are the things I was like, why? Why are you doing that? Well, it depends. But if you were married to someone that had kids or in a relationship for a period of time, and you built like assets together and things of that nature, and then she comes home and says, "I'm leaving you for a kid that's 25 years old." I don't know. You wouldn't get a little bit angry?
We're gonna talk about
a little bit.
Let's talk about that. The next part. Let's do that. All right. So here's what I have a question for you, Liz.
Okay.
So you were talking about what if somebody was much younger than you and they went after someone, like either your husband or your boyfriend, yes, whatever, someone you're in a relationship with or whatever. How would you react? You know, this could apply in all sorts of relationships, okay? But how would you generally react? And you were saying that you gave me that example, said, how would I feel in
Right.
that situation, right?
Well, first of all, I mean, again, it goes back to loving yourself. So if you love yourself
Yeah.
and you have a strong self, sense of self, your purpose, you
Yeah.
live in your best life, and
Yeah.
your partner makes another choice,
Yeah.
you're not going to allow that person's decision to make you feel less than.
Yeah.
Because my thing is just every pot has a lid, and if that's what you want, go for it.
Yeah.
Because younger women, older men, it is what it is. So all I can say is hope you can keep up with her. Those 20 years, when you're 50 and you're 20, it may not be that big of a deal. But when you're 50 and he's 80, it's a whole different ballpark. so if nobody goes that far down, you just hanging. You're just hanging, you're having a good time. But when that age difference starts, that gap becomes reality,
Yeah.
a whole big story. Because you got
Yeah.
your parents aging the same time your husband's aging or your
Yeah.
wife's aging.
Yeah.
That can be kind of challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, I have something to show you, Liz. I am going to show you. Let me share it here, and I want to get your response to it because that's going to be very interesting. I want to see what your response would be. Let me see here. Let me make sure I have it. What I did shit. Yeah, I got it. Can you see it? You can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're ready. I just played.
Hello.
Just a bit of advice.
If you're dressing for Stephen, not that one. He doesn't like anything quite so obvious. Thank you. But when Stephen doesn't like what I wear, I take it off.
So, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, each person has their own taste.
So,
What it is.
it's
I personally don't want to fight. I'm not going to fight over a man.
Yeah.
If my whole thing about, to me, when people cheat, I think the funniest thing that could happen is the two women usually fight. I
Yeah.
don't know why women just don't turn around and be
Yeah.
denial because he's doing this, abusing, he's manipulating the situation. Because I'm
Yeah.
sure he's telling her all the negative things about you and vice versa.
Yeah.
But why don't you just get him and
Yeah.
have a good old fashioned conversation? That's all I'm
Yeah.
thinking. I'm not
That was a movie, The Opposite Sex, by the way, if you want to know what the movie was. And it was a movie that clip was actually shared with me by a close friend of mine. And because she's not giving permission to mention her, I won't mention her, but yeah, it was very interesting. I really thought that I kind of looked at the clip and I just loved it. I said, I got to discuss
like
it with Liz because it was very interesting as to what she thinks about it.
Yeah, I like that. But you know what? Angela Bassett did it best in Weaving XL. When her husband left her and he cheated, when she walked away from that fire, when she lit that fire and did that, I was like, whoa. But
Yeah. And actually, that movie, she does, to be spoiler alert, she does walk away from her husband. She does go all the way to Las Vegas to go and file the divorce. I think it's both one in that movie, but let me not spoil it for everybody. Yeah. But it was, it's one of those things that, so for me, I kind of look at it this way. I always look at it at when you meet someone now and you get to know them, there are three things that's going to happen. Either you're going to get really close to each other, much closer, so close that nobody can separate you. You're just going to be like, you're almost going to be like brother and sister. I know of people who are actually like that. I have my aunt and uncle who are in Zambia. My, I'll mention her name. It's okay. I don't think she minds. My Aunt Cecilia, she and her husband, they're the closest I've ever seen. Like they've grown close over the years. It's just really amazing. Her and my uncle, it's just like, wow. They've just grown close over the years. They've been, I think, over 50 years, if I'm not mistaken. And they've just grown close. And I have another close friend of mine who's an older friend of mine who's a Christian man, and he's been with his wife for many, many years. They don't have kids, but he and his wife, they're really close. It's like brothers and sisters. Like everything is like, oh, I gotta talk to her about it. I won't mention his name, but I'm just like, we can just do this, bro. Like seriously. You don't have to talk to them. But it's just, they love each other so much. And then there's another type, the middle, where you stay together for the sake of convenience, but you just decide that you're just going to do it because it's more convenience to do it than not to do it. In other words, you understand the cost of divorce or the cost of separating from kids, especially if you have kids like you talked about. So that's what I noted. I see that. And then there's a third one, which is like, you just don't like the person anymore. Like, they're no longer what they used to be. And they go apart. I understand them. And
go apart,
and you fall apart. And I think, and it's just my view, I think that when you go into a relationship, you can understand one of those three things is going to happen. And you should be ready for all three scenarios. And you should, therefore, you should not be overreacting when one of those scenarios happens. So when someone cheats on you, what the latter two happen. Either they're indifferent to you, the second one, or the third one, which is they just don't like you anymore. One of those two. You can't like the first one because if they're really close to you, it's very unlikely.
So this kind of like goes to the question or speaks to the question, can a person love more than one person in a lifetime?
Oh, yeah.
Because I have a friend of mine who does not believe in the conventional form of marriage.
Yeah.
She thinks that it's okay. Like she wouldn't mind having two husbands because she's outgrown her present husband or whatever. We had this whole conversation, and she was like, she could understand how people have like sister wives and brother husbands. So she said, because why should one person have to fulfill all of your needs? I was like, okay, but when the more people you have in your household, doesn't that make, or in your relationships, doesn't that make things very complicated?
You know what? I used to think that, but I had a friend of mine, pretty close friend of mine, and she even shared a book that I had to read recently. But very close friend of mine, she's in a polyamorous relationship, had a child. So I thought, oh my God, if she has a child, this gotta be complicated. Nope, she's in a polyamorous relationship, and she has, I think, 2 men. Or I don't know. I'm not sure. I think by the time I saw her, she was 2 men. No issues, no problems. She's very happy. She is, and you know what? Unless they're hiding it, I don't think they show off. You know how people try to show up on Facebook that they are happy?
Right.
She doesn't do that. She's very secretive about it. But I know that she's very happy. Like, I just know that. And it's just weird. It's just like, okay, wow, I was told by society that if you went into polyamorous relationship, if you involved a child, they'll be jealous and all sorts of things. Nope, none of that. And I don't see a sense of jealousy. Some people say, oh, if you went into a polyamorous relationship, there'll always be one person who's not happy. I'm like, don't make presumptions, right? That's my theory. Don't make presumptions because I've seen them and I've just looked at her. I'm like, wow, she's really happy in that relationship. Like, she's not at all sad. She's very happy with the kind of relationship you have. Now, of course, I'm not too sure whether all the men she's dealing with are happy with that arrangement. I've never really been close. I only know 2 of them, but I've never been close with them to figure out whether they are happy. But I think, in my personal view, the fact that she's happy and she's a woman, because most people would be happy are men, shows me that there's something there. So that's what my view is. I think you got to know yourself, right? And you got to know who you are, and you got to know whether you like multiple relationships or what kind of relationships you like. And that's very interesting. So I like what you're saying about that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that by really, because relationships now are so complicated.
Yeah.
But do you feel that the most successful relationships kind of happen organically? It's like not, how you meet somebody and you don't have to look at it. You just start having a conversation. Then one thing kind of leads to another thing, like Mother Nature takes its course. But it's natural. Like you're not forcing it to happen. You can truly be yourself. So it was interesting because at a conversation I had recently, they were asking about, well, what do men really want? And what, like that. That was the whole conversation about a group of women. They wanted to know what do men really want.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, don't we all have to just be ourselves? Because how hard is it to be somebody else?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can't look at you and meet you and go like, oh, he likes this type of woman.
Yeah.
I mean, you drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what type of person you like. So why can't you just be yourself?
I
Like, why can't we just be ourselves? And if we gel, we gel. If we don't, if nothing else, we can be friends. You don't have to, every male or female and female encounter doesn't have to result in a relationship, like a sexual relationship. You know what I mean? Or a sexual relationship or whatever.
I agree. I agree. Totally. Yeah, I think the organic part, I like the way you talk about how relationships, when they're successful, they can be organic. It's a natural process.
You don't have to work that hard. You ever notice like some of your best relationships, you don't have to work that hard to impress that person.
Yeah.
You guys, you just meet and you start laughing. Then you feel that, you get that attraction or whatever, whatever, however that looks. You start giggling, acting like you're 2 years old again. Like those kind of relationships.
Yeah.
Those are the best.
Yeah. I totally agree. That's amazing. And I think it's one of those things. Yeah, Liz, you had it. By the way, there was something we had discussed for the video, and I want you to ask me that question again because I really thought it was a very interesting question.
Okay, so the question of the day is, why do men who are divorced or who've had maybe not so successful relationships but have a little bit of money or they appear to have money, why do they think the only reason women are attracted to is because they're driving the Benz or the Mercedes or the Range Rover? Like, all women aren't like that. So what's that about? Like, because they'll put it right out there. They'll be like, oh, I don't want, people only like me because of what I have. Well, if you wasn't showing everybody, your wallet and your bank account, then I don't know, maybe they would just see you for who you are as a person. Yeah. Money only goes so far.
So here's my 2 cents. And by the way, I personally, because I don't attach a lot of emotions to dating and stuff, I totally understand where both men and women are coming from. But let me explain why I think men think that way. Wow. I'll talk about my personal experience. When I was younger, I was just not that attractive. I was mediocre. I was poor. And I didn't have any resources. I had nothing. In my 20s, I was working after graduating from college, I was working at Burger King. Okay. And so nobody wanted to talk to me. I'm going to be honest. I did not get anyone trying to talk to me. And so after, now I see, and I'm older now. It's weird because I'm older now. It should be that the older me should not be that attractive. But all of a sudden, and I do notice this, I do see a number of women talking to me. Now, I'm not in the dating pool. I don't like dating. We could talk about that later on right now. But, I've had women literally approach me, which never happened when I was younger. Never happened in a million years. It just didn't happen. And it's happening. So I'm asking myself, what do I have that I didn't have when I was younger? And I'm like, oh, I got a job. I got a home. I look like I have a little bit. I'm not rich. I'm not rich at all. I'm still, in my personal view, I'm working class. But I have stuff. I have some things going. Some credit.
Some credit.
And people look at that and they're like, oh, okay. And so that's what I think. That's what I would think. Now, here's the caveat I'll have to put out there. There's nothing wrong with being attracted to somebody because they have resources. Because we men are also superficial, right? So we get attracted to somebody because they are beautiful, right? You say, oh, this person is beautiful. If somebody is not that beautiful, you're not going to be that attracted to them, right? That's a fact, especially men. Men tend to do that a lot. It's sort of like, oh, that person is not attractive enough. Oh, that person needs to go to the gym. Or, we always talk about, we won't say it publicly, but we'll say it privately. Men will say that privately. And men do that a lot. And so, I mean, one of the most popular sites and YouTube channels on social media, Red Pill, the Red Pill. If you go to Red Pill, if you become Red Pill right now, if I became Red Pill right now, I'll have, 20,000, 200,000 people watching me? Talking about what women need to do. So it's kind of both sides. I look at it as there's nothing wrong with a woman saying, hey, I want this kind of a man. I want a man who does this. I just say to myself that you got to understand that the higher the quality of the person you're looking for, the less likely you're going to get them. And you got to understand the reality of life. So, for example, if you're looking for a person who's super wealthy, one of your odds are pretty low. If I'm looking for somebody who's very beautiful, if I'm being unrealistic and I'm looking for a woman who is making a lot of money, who's a doctor. Okay. Like she's a doctor, she's a doctor. Like that's the person I'm looking for. That's the person I want to go out. Yeah, that's possible. But the odds are extremely low. And I need to understand that. But that doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with me wanting to date a doctor. In the same way, there's nothing wrong with me with a woman wanting to date somebody with money. So I think men are okay thinking that. But the question is, so what? That's what I say. To me, that's my answer. So what? So what if a woman is attracted to me because I have more resources? Great. I made it. That's great for me. So you know what? I don't hold it again. I wouldn't hold it against women because of that.
Well, okay.
Yeah. So, what do you think though? What's your view?
I just kind of think that maybe I'm at this season of my life where friendship means more than the material things. I feel like friendship is so important that together you can work together to achieve whatever your materialistic goals are.
Yeah.
And as long as you bring something to the table. But I don't think that, I definitely would not recommend like my daughters or any young women I'd be so dependent on a male person or whatever their relationship is.
Yeah.
I'm so dependent that they don't empower themselves to achieve whatever their personal goals are. That's always my concern, because sometimes you can lose yourself and trying to be the trophy wife or things of those natures. You just gotta be careful, because the other side of it is, male or female, you get in a great relationship, you're with someone wealthy, and then they decide to cut you off.
Yeah.
It's plan B. I mean, what they say is a thin line between love and hate. Okay. So what happens when you get thrown out? I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but what happens? Human nature. So what's your backup plan? I mean, I always grew up where plan A, plan B. My father taught that. You always have a plan B so that you and your children are never homeless. So.
Yes, and so, let me give another example.
Right.
One of the reasons that some women did not want to date me, and I knew that indirectly, was because I was dark-skinned. Okay? They wanted somebody who was light-skinned. That's one of the reasons. So I think of it as, I don't hold that against them. That's fine. That's what they're attracted to. It's just, I'm not going to say, why? Like, I don't want to date someone who doesn't want to date me. That's just
right.
I don't want to go out with somebody who does not want to go out with me. I want somebody who's attracted to me. So for me personally, they were attracted to me because I have a job. Great. Okay. That's fine. If they were attracted to me because, this happens a lot in the diaspora community, it doesn't happen a lot in the American community because I'm an American citizen. Okay. So what? Doesn't matter to me. As long as, we can find a way to get along, but when we can build them. So for me, superficial attraction, you can be superficially attracted to somebody at the beginning, and then your mind grow into something else. So I really don't care if somebody
definitely
to somebody, or they are looking for that person. People change. Just because they're looking for a person who's wealthy, doesn't mean that they're going to be throughout the road. Like, that's just not how life is. Sometimes people change and become much better and become kinder and better, and they were attracted. Sometimes when you ask women, why was I attracted to him? Oh, because he had nice shoes. They're like, what? Yeah, he had nice shoes. I was like, what? Really? That's the reason why you were attracted to him? But they're married for 20, 30 years. So, people are attracted to people for different reasons. And I'm not going to be angry or upset or frustrated. Relationships are complicated. But, on the cheating subject, I think that it's important. You have spoken about that as well. I think you said something that was very important, that there are a lot of choices right now that you could have multiple relationships you can have. Is that correct? That's what you said. Am I right, Liz?
Yeah, well, it's communication. Like right now, we live in an era where people have multiple relationships, marriages, sister, wife, brother, husbands. So really, truly, there's no need to cheat, because you can just have a conversation. That's what.
Yeah, I agree.
As long as everybody's clear and communicating and transparent.
Yeah.
And everybody's an adult.
Yeah.
Do whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. All right. I think we'll end here.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for joining us. It's been a while, so sorry for the long video because it's been a while. So watch the whole video. This is going to be fun. And thank you so much. Good night, goodbye, good day.